Welcome to I Wrote That, a podcast where we bring authors and industry experts together to talk about all things books and make the journey to authorship just a little bit easier. My name is Larissa Sohan, and I am the CEO of Next Page Publishing, a hybrid publishing house where we help entrepreneurs write books to grow their businesses. In 2021, I published my first sci-fi novel, The Defender, through a hybrid publishing company. And from that experience, I learned exactly what not to do. When I joined with this very big publishing company, I was put in a system that was designed to push out thousands of books a year, and I was just a cog in the wheel. And it was heartbreaking when my first book was published and it was a flop. In that moment, I made it my mission to found a hybrid publishing company that was going to give aspiring authors the experience that they deserve. Now I'm on a mission to help aspiring authors feel like they are in control of the publishing journey and that they are supported by a team of experts who genuinely want the best for them and their books. If you are in the very beginning of your journey, or maybe you have a manuscript that you're finished and you're not sure how to get it out into the world, I encourage you to reach out to us at nextpagepublishing.net. You can schedule your free discovery call and find out how our team of experts can make your journey to being a published author easy, smooth, and successful. Now, without further ado, let's get on to our next amazing guest and make your journey to authorship a little less complicated. Hey everyone, welcome to this episode today with my guest Jeff, who is on the cusp of publishing his book at the time this episode was recorded. Now, since it is out and releasing in August, his book came out in June, and you're going to hear all about his pre-launch nerves. But now that his book is out, we're going to be sure to circle back around with him and get an update on how his launch went. But Jeff has 30 years of experience as an entrepreneur. So when we say Next Page Publishing help entrepreneurs, Jeff is the type of people we help write their books. He has built and sold several businesses and has helped other businesses grow to be the best that they can be in that 30-year time. Now, in September of 2021, he launched his latest venture called Pull the Chute, which is actually the title of his book as well. He helps entrepreneurs, leaderships, executives build their businesses through a coaching firm. Now, he hosts his own podcast called Pull the Chute, as well as a video series called The Journey. Welcome, Jeff. It's so good to have you.
Well, thanks, Larissa. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to talk about your book, Pull the Chute, Take Your Business to New Heights, because this is exactly what I do, right? I serve people to write books to grow their businesses. So tell us a little bit about, you've been an entrepreneur for 30 years or 25 years, and you're only just getting to this spot of wanting to write a book. So what has been your journey up until now?
Sure. It's funny. I mean, I started originally from Chicago. I started in corporate America, did about 12-ish years of that, and just said, I can do something of my own. And so I left and started my entrepreneurial career way back in 1993. And, I had several businesses in the beginning, tech businesses. I was big into tech stuff. And we had one that was called FuturesNet that ended up, when we moved it to the internet, so it was pre-internet. So if anybody remembers the days of 4-disc install sets, we had that. And you dialed into a bank of modems. So the old-fashioned, sounds of modems. Internet was just coming alive back then. But we moved it to the internet in 96. So we were way ahead of the curve on as far as technology. We had database-driven websites in 96 where everyone else was doing brochureware, right? And so the cool part was that we moved it to the internet, but then people thought, well, the internet's free. Why am I paying for this service? Which was a little hurdle. But we noticed that they were using one piece of technology more than any other, and that was the ability to upload a file from their PCs to our servers and get to it from any web browser. And so we decided to just pull that piece of the technology out, and we called it Free Drive, FREE drive.com. And it was interesting because I always tell people my little small claim to fame is that I'm one of the founding fathers of what we know today as web-based storage, because in 1998, no one was doing that. And so we started out, and it took us about 18 months to get our first 1 million users. But then the hockey stick started, and we were getting our next 1 million came in 13 weeks, then 11 weeks, then 10 weeks, then 9 weeks. I mean, it was insanity. And so by early 2001, we had 18 million users worldwide using this free drive product, which was amazing, right?
Mhm.
We sold the majority share off to names you might know. Motorola is the phone company, of course. Two others are EDS, which was the server company, and EMC, which was the storage company. And I got to have the really cool time where I was the technology evangelist for the company. And I got to talk in front of 5,000 people about what we did at Free Drive, why it was so successful. And then I got to look at cool technologies that would fit into Free Drive since I was the CTO and designed it. So anyway, 2003, my time there finished up. And so since then, I've just been helping companies grow.
Mhm.
And I've really had a good time doing it. I did it more of as a consulting gig until recently. In 2021, I just looked in the mirror and said, okay, I'm not retiring anytime soon. And what do I want to do? And I said, my passion is to help companies grow and be the best they can be.
Mhm.
And so I decided to coach companies instead of consulting them, because I can help more companies grow and be the best they can be all at once. And so I called the company Pull the Chute, which was tied to a skydiving event that I did back when I was 40. I tell people, look, there's a couple of important birthdays in your life. When you're 16, you can drive. When you're 21, you're legal. When you're 40, statistically, your life is half over. And you kind of look in the mirror and you say, okay, what's on my bucket list that I want to do while I still can? And I went skydiving. So you go 14,000 feet up in the air, you tumble out of a plane, you're falling at 120 miles an hour. First thing you notice, it's hard to breathe. You have one little movement of your hand, you start to spin. Everything's happening so fast, you can't see where you're at and you can't see where you're going. But at 5,500 feet, you pull the chute and suddenly you can breathe again. You're in control. You can see where you're at and you can see where you want to go. And so when I turned 60 and decided to start coaching, I decided that isn't that a lot like businesses? They're all moving at 120 miles an hour. And my goal is to get them to pull the chute for at least an hour a week so that they can take a breath, feel in control, see where they're at and see where they want to go. And hopefully I can help them, guide them to be better companies, better businesses, better leaders in all those aspects. So that's kind of the history of where I got to today.
And all that led you to a book.
It
And
did.
that's the beauty of wanting to serve in mass, is that's where the book comes in, is it opens you up to tell your story, but also teach, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
what does your book focus on? You mentioned an hour a week of pull the chute time, just
Right.
relax, step back, breathe. Does your book embody some of that feeling? Like what does your book give us?
Yeah. So I have, over 25 years experience of just helping companies grow. Right. So I thought, what if I put that all down? And I always tell people, look, I love coaching, but I more than anything want to just help people be the best they can be. And it doesn't mean I have to coach you. Right. So that's why I decided to write the book, and I thought, give them the aspects of it. And so what I've done in the book is, first of all, I kind of give them a little bit of background. I, explain a little bit about what I just told you about how I got to this place and all the things that have happened. And then I start kind of focusing on different aspects of it. Like one's called 2% change can create compound results, because everyone hates change, right? So, but you need to change, because if you're going to succeed, you've got to be able to change and kind of look at things and make adjustments. Because if you just stay status quo, then guess what? You're doomed for failure.
Mhm.
Because life changes around you, business world changes around you, the world changes around you, and so we need to be able to do that. But my whole goal of the book, and I hope it's brought across, is just to each chapter kind of looks and says, hey, here are things that you should be looking at that could help you grow your business. Again, 2% change is one. The other one is, are you a visionary? Or are you an integrator? Because a lot
Mhm.
of times the successes of businesses come from the fact that, like when we did Free Drive, my business partner, Mike Rhodes, was definitely the visionary. He would give me drawings on a napkin, no kidding, no exaggeration. And he'd say, can we do this? And I was the integrator, and I'd look at it and go, you know what? I think I can make that happen.
Yeah.
And that's the key, right? So sometimes, business owners, they try to be all those parts, and it's really hard because they get caught up in all the visionary stuff and they don't quite get to the nitty gritty of the integration of that stuff.
Mhm.
Or if they do, they don't really do it to the depth that it needs to get done, because they're all in, at the 5,000 foot or 14,000 foot, as I say in the book, level. And they're looking at saying, oh, it would be really cool if we could do this and this. So my goal there is to say, look, sometimes you need to find someone that can be a good integrator if you're a good visionary.
Mhm.
And to be able to do that stuff. But I think overall, the book, my whole goal of the book was just to help people understand all the different aspects and to get them, again, take a break, pull the chute, read a chapter a day if you can, and then focus on those aspects of it to kind of make them take a moment and say, okay, maybe if I tried this, this might be better. Maybe if I tried that, this might be better. Business is a journey, and everyone has to go through it. And the idea of the book is to help them figure out what that journey is and how they can get there.
And business owners, entrepreneurs are so much like authors. That's why I serve authors and entrepreneurs together, because that visionary that you're talking about is, the embodiment of a successful entrepreneur mixed with the implementation side of it. And what I find a lot, and maybe you found this with your book too, you get the two types of people. You get the people that want to write the book. They have the dream. They have the vision. It's there. It's at their fingertips. And then they get to the implementation part and they're like, oh my God, I have no idea. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Or you have the other people that are like, I really, really want to write a book, but I don't know what to write. Like, I know I have a story. I just don't know how to formulate it in me. And that's exactly why people like me exist, to help in all of that. Now, I know you're at a spot where your book is going to be coming out very, very soon. And we've been talking a little bit about marketing around your book. So, and this is something, we've had marketing experts on this show before, and we've talked about like, when is the appropriate time to start marketing your book? But you have about, let's say, a month before your book comes out. We're thinking sometime in June, the book's going to come out. What has your marketing plan been up until this point? Have you given it much thought yet? Where are you going?
Great question, which is one of the reasons I reached out to you, because I've given it a little bit of thought, if you will, meaning, I feel like I've spent the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, building up the brand of what Pull the Chute is about. And the concept of, taking a breath, feeling in control, things of that nature. But overall, my goal was just to start, reaching out to family and friends and to start getting some of their opinions of what the book is going to be about, how they read it and what they thought about. But overall, no, I haven't given it much thought. So, I would love some insight. So I could love to pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah. And, you and I we're going to have many conversations after this about how to promote your book. But the biggest advice I can give is find who you're writing to. Who did you design the book for? Who are you targeting? Because once you know that, your marketing messages become clearer. You can figure out what you need to say to hook them in, what you need to say to make them buy, where they're hanging out. And you have 2 years of data on this already that you can start leveraging, right? But your reader might be slightly different than your client. And that's a trap a lot of people fall into. And then the other trap is your reader is different than you. A lot of times we base our ideal readers or our ideal clients off of us. But we're actually in a very different spot than where our readers are. Because where you house all this knowledge in you, and you were able to write the book, your readers don't have any of that, right? So you're not writing to yourself. You know the answers to these questions, but your readers don't. So that's a really quick tip. How are you publishing this book?
I'm going to self-publish it. Figured that was just a way to kind of get it going. Again, my first book. So I'm learning all the little things that have to happen here and what we have to do. So it's exciting for me to be able to do that and to kind of figure it out. But I figured if we self-published it, I could potentially get some awareness that way as well, so that I learn as I go through the process here.
Self-publishing is definitely a booming industry, and it's giving people the ability to write books on their own terms. And this is the really cool thing about your book, is that you are getting the ability to write the book for your audience and then use it the way you want. With traditional publishing, that doesn't necessarily exist. You are more on their terms. You're more on their marketing plan, their goals for the book, where self-publishing, it's all you. You're in control. That's right. Your path forward, right? That's really, really neat. Now, you mentioned you had a very interesting designer for your book, your cover. Talk about your cover.
Yeah, so the cover is really cool. Actually, my daughter, who is the creative director at a marketing and PR firm, and is just an amazing artist, if you will, and designer. I kind of threw it all at her, and it came out really cool because it's actually skydiving over kind of a city, if you will, where people are kind of, falling at 120 miles an hour, and to kind of set the whole pace of what the book is about, and how it can actually feel to do that. It's interesting because I've had people that said to me, what you ought to do is put people through maybe a 6-week course, and then have them go skydive at the end, just so they can get the adrenaline rush of what
That's
that
your
feels like.
graduation.
Yeah,
I
right.
love that.
Yeah, which would be a lot of fun. But yeah, the book itself, the cover of the book, it came out so amazing. I'm so excited. I'm thrilled that she was able to pull that off for me. But it's I think it really tells the story. It really gives a good, part of my book is all about storytelling. So I have a ton of stories in there because I got a ton of stories throughout my life, and the cover kind of says the same thing. I believe, it tells a story very quick and easy.
And it's not just someone skydiving. It's you.
It is me. Yeah. It's a picture of me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. With my tandem partner. And the funny part of it is the picture itself kind of shows how difficult it is to be falling at 120 miles an hour. Like one of the first things I noticed was it was hard to breathe. And so the picture shows me kind of struggling to find my breath.
Yeah.
Which I think really resonates with the story, of moving at 120 miles an hour and how difficult that can be.
Yeah. And that's so common, that feeling for entrepreneurs and new authors, to have that feeling of overwhelm. And, that's why in a lot of people's programs, whether they're business coaches, they're relationship coaches, they all start with something simple, the baby steps, I would say. For example, in my program, you start with that ideal reader. You start with who it is that you're talking to, because once you take away some of that ambiguity of like, oh my gosh, I'm writing to the world. No, you're writing to one person. Who is that one person? It takes away that overwhelming feeling. And it's the same with niching down in a business. Pick who it is you're serving and what you're doing. Because if you are writing to everyone, you're writing to no one. So your book's coming out in June. You are targeting entrepreneurs. You want to help them grow their businesses. You have an amazing custom cover designer. You're self-published. You have it all going on. Are you nervous?
Yes and no. So here's the deal. You always get nervous, right? Because it's the first one out. And I've had some people read it and give me some feedback. And a couple of them have said, they made a couple of comments. But for the most part, everyone has said, I love the storytelling because I'm a storyteller, right? And so that's been kind of good. So I'm hoping people get that. But, my ultimate goal here is I hope people get something out of it, right? Like when they read it, they go, oh, I'm glad I read that. That's, hopefully the goal. But ultimately, my theory is this kind of came together, and I'm going to bring my religious side into it, but this is God's plan, and it's going to be what it's going to be. I can't, if it doesn't go over well, then we'll kind of figure something else out. But I felt like I was led to write this book. And I feel like it's just where I'm supposed to be and where the book is supposed to be. So I think ultimately, am I nervous? A little bit, yes, because I just want it to be, not, and successful isn't the right word. I want it to be helpful for people. And then that will mean success to me. If people look at it, read it, and go, "Hey, I learned something here," then I feel like I was successful with it. So
that is such an important part. Success on your terms. Success by how you would define it, right? Success might be you hit publish and you hold a copy in your hand. That might be success. That might be
success. Yeah, you're right.
Success might be you sell 100 copies, you get 10 reviews. It might be that you make $100 in royalties. But define your version of success, because then when you achieve it, you celebrate it.
Yeah.
It's not just this thing that's always looming in the future of like, oh, I need to be successful. What does it mean? What does that mean to you? So your version of success is help people, help someone learn something. Do you have a number? How many people do you want to help?
That's a great question. I hadn't thought about that. I'll go back to my days of youth ministry when we were at a place in Jackson, Mississippi, right? And we were at a men's shelter, and 3 people came out, and we were going to do this whole service for them, right? And the kids walked up to the pastor and said, "There's only 3. Why should we do it?" And he looked at him and he said, "It's 3. It could be more, but it's 3. So as long as there's 1, we're going to do it." Yeah. Well, the amazing part was that as we started to do the service, like a half a dozen other guys came out of the back because they were embarrassed because they were, just kind of a shelter, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we had 9 or 10 people out there because
Mhm.
others did it. So for me, 1 or 2 would be fine. As long as someone looks at it, I'm going to look at it that way. I
Yeah.
don't want to set a number. Again, if I help one company be the best they can be, then I'm good.
And I want to share with you the power of the one, because one of the marketing strategies that we use with our books in our company and that we teach to our authors is the one for them, one for you, one for them strategy. So you come to the people that you've already served, you give them a copy of your book for them, and then another copy to give to a friend. And it's that same methodology that you were just talking about. Like one person shows up and then more people come out of the woodwork because they see the benefit of it. And it's the same methodology with your book. And it is that recommendation of like, I've worked with Jeff. He is incredible. And here's his book. It takes away that responsibility on that person to promote you. And it gives them your calling card. I can't say enough wonderful things about Jeff. Here, read them. Here's all the wonderful things about Jeff, right? And it's so powerful. So that's one thing that you'll learn in the course that you're going to go through, along with some other really great ways to use your book. Okay, Jeff, I'm going to wrap up with my all-time favorite question. What advice do you have for aspiring authors?
I would say for me is the hardest thing for me was figuring out where to start and then how to put it all together, right? So what I started doing was writing a series of blogs that eventually became chapters, right? Because I couldn't figure out where to start and then how to put it together, right? So I knew all these subjects that I wanted to kind of touch on. And so that allowed me to kind of start getting into my head how I wanted to pull it all together. So I would say, my advice would be start small and then rework each chapter to grow them to where you want to, dive a little farther into certain areas and things like that. But that seemed to work well for me because I sat there several times like, okay, how do I want to start this? I know I got so many thoughts in my head. And so as I tell my clients all the time is look, don't look at the overall picture, just start breaking it down into small little bite-sized pieces. And pretty soon you'll have the whole picture figured out.
Yeah, it's one page at a time. Right?
Yep, absolutely.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. And I'm going to post the link to your book once it's released in the show notes. So all my entrepreneurs and all my authors can grab a copy of it. And this has been such a wonderful chat. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of I Wrote That. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to our show so you don't miss any of our upcoming guests. And if this has led you to some inspiration to want to get started on your own authorship journey, whether you just have an idea or you have a manuscript that you're ready to publish, reach out to us at nextpagepublishing.net and we will match you up with our team of experts to make the journey simple, easy, and smooth.